If you were to tell that same young Jew that the Jews have been the most influential people of all time, he would laugh at you. Because the most important Jewish contributions have all been co-opted by others. Help me here. The Jews gave the world God, correct? But today God is called Jesus Christ or Allah. The Jews gave the world the Sabbath. Today it's called, it's today. Sunday, very good. The Jews gave the world the idea of the equality of all mankind. Genesis chapter 1, every human being is created in the image of God. Today it's called democracy. The Jews gave the world the idea of brotherhood of all nations. It's straight from Isaiah chapter 11. It's the earliest source. Today it's called the United Nations. Finally, we gave the world the rule that that which you hate, don't do unto others, love your fellow man as yourself. Today it's called the Golden Rule. And most people believe it was taught first by Jesus. The point is that anything we have to contribute has been adopted and even co-opted by others so that we have no legacy left. We stand for nothing. The most influential nation of all time stands for absolutely nothing. If you don't believe me, go to any of your Jewish friends or non-Jewish friends, but it works even better with your Jewish friends, and simply say to them, what are the three most essential values of the Jewish people? Just ask them that. They'll probably tell you something like, we believe in charity. Oh really? The Mormons don't? The Christians don't? They even call it Christian charity. They'll say, we believe in learning. Really? And all the Asian kids who are acing their SATs don't? What makes us unique? Nothing. And now you begin to understand why preserving this heritage can only be done through threats, coercion, and our favorite, Jewish guilt. I used to see this at Oxford all the time. An innocent student who had not hurt anyone would arrive at Oxford University at the age of 17 or 18. He would disembark from his, oh my God, what was that? Very much.
Shut up the fountain. To the fountain. Shut up the fountain.
Shut up the fountain. I was about to jump in. Are you saying that God's with me? Okay. Oh, sorry about this. This really is for Mayor Booker. You want to put your speech up, but I can't get the story. Sorry about this. What was I talking about? No, I just said a poor student would arrive at Oxford, and as he would leave, that's how inspired I am by my own words. And as this student would sort of like, he's embarking on this new life at Oxford, he would get out of the car, and his mother would say, do you have your toothbrush, do you have your underwear, do you have your socks? He has everything. And he'd say, oh, I forgot one thing. Here is 500 pounds of Jewish guilt. And she'd put him on his shoulders. And for the next 3 years, he would see him trying to just walk around as he got phone calls every week. Did you go to the synagogue this week? Did you go to the L'chaim Society? Did you go to the Jewish Society? Threats, coercion. Who would want to promote a legacy that stands for nothing? My friends, that's what this organization is about. Thank you very much. America's in the grip of a great presidential race. And yet, whether John McCain or Barack Obama wins the presidency, amazingly, it will do nothing to change the 50% divorce rate. And whether either of them wins the presidency, it won't change the 1/3 of American women who are on an antidepressant. Prozac, Zoloft, and Paxil, the miracle drugs of our generation that brings joy and a smile. Whoever wins the presidency, it won't change the 40% of American men who tune their families out on a nightly basis through an average of 3 hours of television watching a day. And do you understand why? Because the United States is more prosperous than ever when it comes to the macrocosm, the big things. Yes, our economy can be healed, we're going through a housing crisis, but we're still the strongest economy in the world. And our military is pretty strong. But the rot that has set into our families, and Christianity and Islam, they don't have as much to say about these things as Judaism does, because they always dealt with the great questions of existence. In Christianity, the biggest question is, are you going to heaven? Is your soul saved? In Judaism, the great question is, have you done one good deed today? The concept of a mitzvah, that a single tiny action of even being the first to greet your friends in the office, to confer dignity upon them by making them feel like they matter, that helps bring the entire world into a righteous balance. What I'm trying to say is, Judaism has unique values that can heal this great nation if only they could be heard. If only they could be heard. For the first time in history, we're beginning to see the flowering of Jewish values in the mainstream world. People are studying Kabbalah, Matisyahu's lyrics, and who would have thought a guy with a yarmulke and a beard would have, I mean, we were in Chicago the other day, Friday. I came back from Chicago this morning. And me and my son were walking on the beach, Lake Michigan, and there's all these Latino kids playing Matisyahu. And then the #1 parenting book in the country is, and it's become the Bible of parenting, is Blessings of a Skin Knee, written by Wendy Mogul, all based, as you'll see in the book, word for word in the Talmud. And then there is my own work, which has sought to bring Judaism to the mainstream, my television show Shalom in the Home, which last year was recognized for the National Fatherhood Award, and I also want to recognize the head of the National Fatherhood Award. Roland is here with his wife, and I brought him to meet Cory. Thank you very much for being with us. And on this show, all you see, it's a national show on TLC, you see a guy who brings Jewish wisdom to bear on families. Or the daily radio show that I do for Oprah and Friends. The purpose of the Jewish Values Network is to accelerate that trend, to make Judaism more high profile. Our community is the media. It's television, it's radio, it's magazines, it's newspapers. We must begin to demonstrate that Jewish values deserve a seat at the table, not to make non-Jews Jewish. We are not a proselytizing thing, but rather to demonstrate that the Jews have wisdom uniquely attuned to America's problems. Because while Christianity and Islam were trying to build great empires, we Jews were creating an empire of the home. We were giving people lessons by which they could have a passionate marriage. We were giving people lessons by which they could learn to not to be envious of their friend's success and not to gossip. These are the mainstays of our faith. One of the initiatives, and by the way, there's someone who came over to me. Please identify yourself again. You brought me a copy of my book, Kosher Sex. Thank you. Can you show it to everyone? Let me tell you why this is significant. It's not the fact that I wrote this 10 years ago, but you said you won this in some award.
With the ADL.
With the ADL. I wrote this book in 1998. I wrote it for a small student audience at Oxford. The idea was to give the students some guidance about their sexual relationships. Because it seemed that the only person who could teach them about sexuality was Hugh Hefner. And I didn't know that he was the most qualified person to do it. Honestly, my wife will tell you the story. It's a true story. It was just written up in the Jewish Chronicle in London, because I was in London for a debate 2 weeks ago. Robin Baird Smith came to me. He's the publisher of Duckworth. He said, I have a series called An Intelligent Person's Guide to X. I want you to do An Intelligent Person's Guide to Judaism. I said, I'll do it for you, but only on one condition. It's a 2-book deal. I have a book called Kosher Sex. It's such an absurd title and such an absurd subject, no one will publish it. I will give you the book for £5,000, $8,000, and you'll get the other book for free. He agreed. This little book that I really didn't expect anyone to buy became an international bestseller. It was translated into 20 languages. It sold, more than 1 million copies. And the reason was that Judaism has a very healthy sexual ethic. We celebrate sex. We believe that if you saw today's New York Times, that story about that student, that 21-year-old, sex has lost its passion, it's become so casual. And when this was published, USA Today voted it one of the 10 best relationship books of the 1990s, and it said, in the new edition it's on the back, teaches that sex can be both holy and hot. Now if you go to other religions, they look at sex very differently. It's both procreation, or it's to make sure that you don't sin and you don't stray, you're attached to your wife. You mean we Jews have had so much to say about sex, and for 3,300 years we haven't said it? And one nothing rabbi from Oxford decided he had a guide to students. This was a collection of essays that I published for the students in my years there.